Wakanda Forever. Now, making a sequel to the original Black Panther film was already a nearly impossible task made tougher by the tragic real-world passing of star Chadwick Boseman. So, does director Ryan Coogler's sequel measure up? Is it a fitting tribute? Now, how do Marvel Comics characters like Namor and Riri Williams figure in? And most importantly, what's next for Wakanda, the Black Panther, and the rest of the MCU? Now, we've got thoughts on all these questions and we're going to explore them in depth, but to do that, we're going to break down this whole movie, including after the credits, and in case it isn't obvious, that does mean spoilers everywhere. So if you aren't ready for a return trip to Wakanda just yet, this is your one and only spoiler warning before the invisible shield opens and we enter the spoiler city. Let's go. Okay, now that we're past the spoiler warning, let's jump right into the action, just like the movie does. Now, Shuri works against the clock trying to synthesize the heart-shaped herb in her lab. Now, it's clear that T'Challa's health is failing. Now, we never find out why, but he is dying of an unknown disease, and after Killmonger burned all of the heart-shaped herb plants, there's no way to easily save him. Now, Shuri missed his final moments because she was trying so hard to make a cure. T'Challa dies. Now, Wakanda holds a procession for him with Ramonda and Shuri weeping over his coffin as it's taken away. Now, that's how the movie opens. Now, the Marvel Studios logo reveal comes after this, using images of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, and are revealed in total silence. Now, this cold open sets the tone entirely for the direction of the film. Now, to recap, MCU's Earth is basically in the middle of a Vibranium arms race. Now, the UN is pressuring Queen Ramonda about sharing Vibranium and Wakandan tech with the rest of the world, and it just so happens France even tried to steal some Vibranium from a Wakandan facility. The Queen fears that this means the world views Wakanda as weak without the Black Panther, but she also fears what might happen if they allowed Vibranium to fall into the wrong hands. So no one has claimed the mantle of Black Panther since T'Challa's death. Now, that's pretty important. And you know, funny we say that because at that moment, a team of researchers are on a deep sea mission to find their very own Vibranium, and they get attacked and wiped out by Namor and his people from the underwater city of Talokan. Now, it's like Atlantis, but you know, not that. Anyway, they steal a machine that will help them find, yeah, that's right, you guessed it, Vibranium. A little time jump here. A year later, Queen Ramonda and Shuri are dealing with T'Challa's death, and Shuri is struggling when Namor shows up, popping out of a river in Wakanda with a proposal. Wakanda and Talokan should work together to stop the world from stealing Vibranium. Now, also, they should probably kill whoever made that Vibranium finding machine we just saw Namor and his people assume ownership of. Shuri and Okoye track down CIA agent Everett Ross in America to stop said assassination from taking place, and he breaks the rules to introduce them to Riri Williams, a Stark or Shuri level engineer. It turns out Riri made the Vibranium finding machine for a class and didn't know the government was even using it. It turns out Riri is a pretty popular person, as Shuri and Okoye have to dodge some pesky CIA agents to rescue Riri, who also busts out her very own homemade Iron Man-esque exosuit. Now, this leads to a confrontation with Namor's people, and after a cool fight scene, Okoye is defeated by the Talokan warriors, and Shuri and an unconscious Riri are kidnapped, taken beneath the waves to go see Namor himself. Now, Agent Ross shows up at the scene as he and the CIA are still on the case. Now, also on the case, Val.
Don't call me that.
Copy.
Yeah, that's right. Played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Val is also investigating all of this, and apparently she and Ross used to be married. That's freaking wild. Okay, I don't have time to unravel that. Moving on. Now, back in Wakanda, Queen Ramonda fires Okoye for failing to protect Shuri. Now, she finds Nakia in Haiti, who agrees to help rescue Shuri, and in her search for her, she uncovers the legend of Namor once she makes her way to the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, down in Talokan, Riri and Shuri are being held captive in a cave, and as they catch up, Shuri says the idea of the Black Panther is no more. It's a thing of the past. If you think that would probably come up again, well, you'd be right. But back to Talokan for a second. Now, the undersea people who speak Yucatec Mayan take Shuri to meet with Namor, and he breaks down his people's history. Now, in 1571, people in Zama, Yucatan were dying of smallpox brought by Spanish colonizers. A god called Chak led them to a blue underwater plant they ground up and ate, which made them water breathers. Now, this included Namor's mother, who was pregnant with him when she did so. Anyway, they made a home for themselves deep in the sea, away from disease and war of the rest of the world. Now, Namor was born under the sea, and as he's explaining all of this, he straight up calls himself a mutant. Now, X-Men fans rejoice, yeah. Now, so there it is, the first real mention of a mutant in the MCU, not counting variant Professor X. Now, at this point, Namor is different. While the rest of his people turn blue and can't breathe without masks above water, he stays the same and can go anywhere, even flying using the handy little wings he has on his ankles. Now, he also ages very slowly, as he's over 450 years old at this particular point. Now, Namor makes one thing very clear. He has no love for the surface world. Now, Shuri wears stolen scuba gear as Namor gives her the grand tour of Talokan, where his people live, and so does a very large store of Vibranium. So Talokan is a place Namor very much wants to protect, and once again makes his case to Shuri as to why Wakanda should join his side against those who would steal from and ultimately hurt them. Now, Namor gives Shuri a bracelet made from his people's miraculous blue plant, telling her they need to attack the rest of the world and kill Riri, which Shuri does not go for, but Namor says he'd just do it anyway and take out Wakanda if she refuses. She goes back to think it over when Nakia busts in to save her and Riri, and does it while Namor is away from the city, so, he wouldn't be there to stop the rescue. Now, when he figures out what happened, he rallies Talokan to attack Wakanda. Now, back in Wakanda, Nakia talks with Okoye, who's a civilian now and still reeling from the loss of her T'Challa. Talokan attacks suddenly and brutally against the Wakandans. Now, M'Baku gets thrashed pretty hard, and Namor also downs several flying vehicles, including Shuri's. Now, Namor goes for Queen Ramonda in the throne room and overwhelms both Ramonda and Riri with a massive amount of water, toppling the Wakandan throne, and Queen Ramonda dies, saving Riri from drowning. And Namor threatens a screaming, crying Shuri that he'd be back in a week for her answer. Now, meanwhile, we learn Val bugs Shuri's beads and knows Agent Ross had helped Wakanda illegally more than once. Now, he says he values the restraint Wakanda has shown with Vibranium and doubts other world powers would be as peaceful. Now, anyway, everyone uses the week to prepare for Talokan's arrival. Riri and Shuri figure out that if they dry out Namor's skin, they can beat him. Riri builds a new suit, and Shuri gives Okoye the Midnight Angel armor she'd been working on. Now, most notably, Shuri uses the plant fibers from the bracelet Namor gave her against T'Challa's DNA to finally synthesize the heart-shaped herb. Now, Nakia and Riri complete a ritual to make Shuri the Black Panther. And instead of seeing Ramonda, Shuri is shocked to see Killmonger instead. Now, she's outraged at him, calling him a coward for burning all of the heart-shaped herb that could have saved T'Challa, but Killmonger tells her they're the same, that she wants the power to enact revenge just like he did. Now, Killmonger leaves Shuri with a question. Does she want to be noble like T'Challa or get things done the way Killmonger did? Now, when Shuri awakens, she lies about who she saw in the ancestral plane and freaks out, breaking things in her lab before donning the suit for the very first time. Her Black Panther suit is gold accented, just like Killmonger's. Now, Shuri proposes they draw Namor out to a distant location in the Atlantic Ocean to force a fight. M'Baku says Namor's people sees him as a god, meaning her plan will cause all-out war. Now, Shuri is like, screw that, I want revenge. Now, you're all helping me get revenge. Now, Nakia tells Shuri she doesn't want her to be consumed by revenge, but she knows it's already too late. The final battle happens when the forces of Talokan face the Wakandan armies, with Shuri leading the charge as the Black Panther. Now, Riri fights Namor in the sky, trapping him on a ship Shuri outfitted with evaporators to dry out his skin, and sends the ship to the desert where they fight hand to hand. Now, the ship crashes on a beach, and that's where Namor impales Shuri through the stomach. Now she fights through the pain and blasts him with the ship afterburners, weakening him significantly. Now she holds a blade to his neck when she sees Queen Ramonda in her mind, finally encouraging compassion instead of revenge by saying, "Show them who you are." And she tells Namor to yield and put their people first, much like T'Challa did to Killmonger in the first movie. Now Namor accepts and they tell everyone to stop killing each other. Now as the movie winds down, more heart-shaped herbs get planted, Riri makes it home safely, and M'Baku again makes a play for the Wakandan throne.
M'Baku, what are you doing here?
It's challenge day.
Namor is pissed Namor bent the knee to Shuri. Now he says she could have killed him and they're stronger in an alliance, pointing to a mural of a Talokan man and a panther, implying Talokan and Wakanda had been allies in the past. Now Okoye rescues Agent Ross from his prison transport, and Shuri finally completes her end of mourning ritual at a beach in Haiti, burning her funeral clothes while thinking of T'Challa.
I now present to you King T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Now, of course, that was the end, but you already know there was a mid-credits scene, and there was only one this time instead of two Marvel fans are normally used to. Now, Nakia joins Shuri on the beach after the burning of the clothes with a little boy with her named Toussaint, but that's only his Haitian name. His real name is T'Challa, son of King T'Challa of Wakanda. The elder T'Challa and Nakia chose to raise their son away from the pressures of the throne in Haiti, and he prepared them for his death and asked them not to attend the funeral. Now Ramonda got to meet him before she died. No post-credits scene in this one. The film is dedicated to Chadwick Boseman and ends simply with Black Panther will return. And that's where it ends for now. Ironheart Riri Williams' Disney Plus series is set to pick up right after Wakanda Forever, so that seems a likely spot to see more of the characters. But for now, we have a lot to take away. Now the movie, first and foremost, is a meditation and journey through grief. If you've unexpectedly lost a loved one, or even more directly are mourning Chadwick Boseman, it will likely hit you hard emotionally, like some of the IGN staff working on this video. It's a pretty different movie than most Marvel fans are used to overall, to be sure, and there inherently just isn't enough room for fun or levity in a movie about processing death. Some big takeaways though. T'Challa has a son also named T'Challa, so it's very possible he could become a future Black Panther and feature into future MCU storylines. Also, Namor himself, he's definitely a mutant. Now, in Marvel Comics, he's constantly referred to as the first mutant, so that tracks. Now, he's technically half human, half Atlantean, but since, his kingdom is called Talokan, not Atlantis, let's just call it a draw. Now, the movie implied the source of Talokan's origin is the blue plant grown in vibranium-rich soil, while comic Namor's origin is half human, half mutant, originating from the X gene. Now, either way, glad to finally see a real-life mutant in the MCU, and for now, it seems like mutations are caused by vibranium exposure. Also, the fact that nations around the Earth are seeking vibranium for probably violent ends is very interesting, and seems to feed directly into a Doctor Doom storyline, even though there is no Doctor Doom in this movie. But the track could be getting laid out in this direction for future MCU adventures. Okay, now it's time for some good old Easter eggs that we found, and here's what we got. Now, speaking more of Namor's background, the addition of basing Talokan culture on Yucatec Maya culture is a new addition by the MCU, replacing Atlantis, which is also said to be somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, Talokan is based on a place described in Aztec codices as a subterranean paradise where those who died water-related deaths go. Now, it is ruled over by Talokan, the supreme god of rain and water, giver of life, but who is also feared for his power. Now, Namor says the line Imperius Rex in his big fight with Shuri on the beach. Now, Imperius Rex has been Namor's comic battle cry for decades, and many, including Thor himself, don't really know what it means. Now, the loose Latin translation is Emperor King. Now, some have deduced it basically means, hey, I'm the king and I do what I want, so I'm going to kick your ass. but that's a bit wordy, so Imperious Rex it is. Now, Riri makes a few movie references when Shuri gets presented with a dress to wear by the erstwhile bad guys, saying, "This is classic villain treatment. Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Princess Leia from Star Wars, and that white lady from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, all properties under the Disney umbrella." Now, also, it's said that Riri went to MIT, where Tony Stark spoke, Quentin Beck used to study, and MJ and Ned are not remembering Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Busted!
Now, there are a few jokes in the news ticker running on the Anderson Cooper CNN reports. The first time one pops up, the ticker reveals Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, has an autobiography coming out called "Look Out for the Little Guy." And the next news report ticker includes a trade pat with New Asgard. Now look for follow through on these tidbits in MCU titles to come. W'Kabi, played by Daniel Kaluuya in the original Black Panther movie, is apparently around and in prison somewhere for siding with Killmonger over T'Challa at the Battle of Mount Bashinga. Kaluuya doesn't appear in this movie at all, but he and Okoye seem to still be married. Now, the Midnight Angels have a comics history as an elite subgroup of the Dora Milaje and have notably gone on a mission with Deadpool to kill Doctor Doom. The final version of the armor bears a strong resemblance to the comic armor, and the comic versions of Ayo and Aneka are confirmed members. But what do you think of Black Panther Wakanda Forever? What do you think of Shuri as the Black Panther? Now, what will we see next from the Black Panther? Hit us up with your best theories in the comments section. Anyway, I'm Akeem Lawnason, and thanks for watching this episode of Canon Fodder. And for more Black Panther, here's the character's whole MCU backstory, so check that out, and don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.